Am I the asshole for telling the new neighbors that they got what they paid for, including being shunned by the neighborhood? Where I live, real estate developers have started snatching up family homes, bulldozing them and building enormous $2 million houses on the plots of land. The houses also stick out horribly in terms of aesthetics. Think single-level brick homes with a 3-level gigantic white and black box in the middle. My home's been in my family for several generations. We have always been known for having a large, beautiful garden. We invited over kids to help with gardening, we gave away so many veggies, we'd hold parties, etc. It's been a neighborhood treasure for years. Until developers snatched up the lot next door, bulldozed and erected an enormous house that blocked out the light to most of the garden. Many of us tried to fight it with the city, but everything was denied. It was heartbreaking. Our neighborhood has been changed forever. This was a link to my family and I almost have had to go through a grieving process for it. The new owners moved in and were not welcomed warmly by people in the neighborhood. I avoided them for as long as I could, other than politely waving or nodding. It was a young couple in their early 20s. We finally came face to face and the woman asked if we could chat. She said that they felt like maybe they'd done something wrong when they moved in, or if they aren't pulling in their trash bins or something, being too loud, etc., because people haven't been very friendly. The guy says that he's surprised considering it felt like a nice and somewhat affluent neighborhood, and given the price, he was expecting friendly neighbors. I asked if they had done any research about the area. They said that they moved from California, so no. I said that maybe that was their mistake? They said they didn't know what I meant, so I asked if they'd ever looked in our backyard. They said yes and said they think the garden is cute. I said, yes, the garden that now has about half less sunlight than before that house was built was a neighborhood treasure. The guy said, well, it's not our fault you built the garden there, is it? I said, well, you guys got what you paid for. $2 million for a house that everyone in the neighborhood hates. I said that I hoped it was worth it and wished them a nice day. When I told another neighbor about the exchange, she told me that she does feel bad for them moving without having any idea what they were getting themselves into. Am I the asshole for telling them that they got what they paid for? So you unloaded your pent-up anger at the developers on the couple who unwittingly bought the house? You are the asshole. That couple did nothing wrong. They bought a house that was on the market. Now, if they had been the ones to buy the house land from the previous owner, bulldoze it down, and then build their $1 million mansion, you might have a leg to stand on. But from what you say in the post, the neighborhood is taking out their frustration, anger on an innocent couple. Yeah, but I do get why he'd be angry if instead of, oh, we're sorry, we didn't know about your garden, they decided to go with, it's not our fault you built your garden there. ETA. I didn't mean, we're sorry, as in they should apologize. I meant it the same way as you'd tell someone, I'm sorry your cat died. It's a statement of sympathy, not apology. I get why they said what they said though. It may not have been right, but original poster was literally attacking them for buying the house. They were reacting to the attack. Most people don't say the right thing in those situations. This is happening in several neighborhoods around me. On a neighborhood website, ND, someone started complaining about the developers and how big the houses were. The whole, we raised out family in 1000 SF so everyone should do that, idea. It started with being angry at the developers but then devolved into making fun of the buyers. They bought a $2 mail house but put up IKEA blinds kinds of things. And they also talk about how wonderful their neighborhood is. Really? Doesn't sound that friendly to me. Note that these are 70-year-old ramblers that were part of a giant development at the time and many haven't been renovated since then. And the sellers are getting top dollar plus the lots are mostly good sized so these aren't lot line to lot line houses. Same thought process as original poster, forgetting that her house probably broke up some family farm 75 years ago when it was built. It's called progress and it can't really be stopped. I would agree if the old houses I question had architectural or historical value but most likely they don't. Original poster, you are the asshole. And taking it out on the poor buyers, you and your neighbors, is abhorrent. Wow, just wow. You are the asshole. They just bought a house. Did you research the neighborhood? Is your garden a big thing so well known it's in papers? That people could know about it without having talks with the neighbors before moving in. And specific talks. And even then, they did not design the house. Just bought it. It is not their fault, and you are being angry at them as if it is. Even if they researched, it's not like the house being on the market or someone else buying the house would have changed the fact that the house existed. No matter who bought the house, or if it sat empty it was blocking the garden. Imagine researching houses with the keyword, does not block a garden said to be a neighborhood treasure. I rolled my eyes so hard at this comment on researching the neighborhood. Like, I was rolling my eyes a little at original poster describing their own house as a neighborhood treasure. I'm so sure your neighbors treasure your garden. But then when it got to researching the neighborhood, it was clear how obnoxious original poster was being. Are there tribute sites to your garden or something? Where were the neighbors going to come up with this information in their research? Basically, this is original poster punishing an innocent couple who were probably really excited to move to a nice neighborhood only to find out their neighbors are Oz. You are the asshole, but you don't have to be. You can fix this pretty easily. Make a pie, or buy a small housewarming gift, and bring it to your neighbor. Tell them, we fought against the builder who built your home, and it broke my heart when my garden lost its sunlight, but neither of those things are your fault. I should have been a better neighbor, and I'd like to fix that going forward. And then tell your other neighbors that the new neighbors are perfectly nice, and that you apologized for the way you treated them. Such an awesome way to turn this around. You are a great dude for this suggestion. Original poster, they are your neighbor. They wanted to move, saw a house they liked in a neighborhood they liked, and bought it. Your anger is directed at the wrong people. From your description of the conversation, she seems very pleasant and friendly. Whether you like it or not, this is your neighbor. You would both be happier if you can accept them and be a kind person. There is so much change that happens in the world and we have so little control over much of it. Hell, my city has changed dramatically in the last 20 years. It's better to accept change that you cannot control and learn to adjust with it. You'll just make yourself and the people around you miserable if you get angry over the things you can't control and direct your anger at the people who didn't cause the change in the first place. You are the asshole. You are mad at the situation and taking it out on the wrong people. They didn't explicitly choose to give your garden less sunlight, the previous owner of the land chose to maximize his profit. You are the asshole. I've seen a lot of NIMBY-type folks on Reddit, but you take the cake today due to treating people like crap because they apparently stole your sunlight and you are big mad about it. These people likely had no idea about your garden or what was there prior to the house they bought being there. It's not their fault the house was built there. If you want to be mad at the real estate developers. That's the actual bad guy here, not the people who bought the house. Okay, but people from places like California moving to places that are smaller and cheaper building houses like this really is fucking up the market in some states. So, that has zero to do with why this original poster is mad. What you described is happening everywhere. These new neighbors are not assholes for simply moving to a different place. He is mad because developers are messing up the neighborhood. They can do that because people buy these houses up at prices locals can't afford. Eventually they will be driven out. If you're going to move somewhere, do the research before you do. Literally none of that is what this original poster is mad about. They are mad that this random couple moved into a house someone else built because it blocks the original poster's sun. I don't disagree with your points, but that's not what this post is about. You are the asshole. I live rural. Unpaved road. I have a horse. So does my neighbor. We see trees and pasture from our homes. 2 years ago some young couple bought a vacant parcel, plowed down all the trees and built a 5,000 square foot monstrosity complete with enormous gate and color-changing lights all over the house. It looks like a shopping mall. And it stares right into my horse arena and kitchen, dining and deck. I loathe that house. It was only finished for about a year before those knuckleheads decided to sell it. I was so excited, and then I realized they weren't taking the house with them. I now have new neighbors and they are very nice. I have no clue why they bought the monstrosity they did. It's such a weird location for that kind of house. And the wife is terrified of bears, so she will hardly come out of her house. But they are human beings and I plan to be cordial and neighborly. Life is just too short to be an asshole to people simply because you're pissed at some developer. These people could be the ones who call 911 when they see smoke coming from your house, or they could lend you freezer space when your chest freezer breaks, or they could find your beloved cat after she escapes. Every neighborhood has some bad neighbors, and in this situation, that's you, not them. You are the asshole. I live in a rural town too. Lots of land is being bought up and massive houses are being built there. We hate it. It's terrible. Lots of people moving in are from California. Most people don't have an issue with them living there. There's a few we hate because they're trying to change the town, but that's only a few. You are the asshole. All they did was buy the house. They didn't buy the land, tear down the old house, and laugh in your face as you tried to fight with the city over it. They are not your enemy. I'm kind of on this. What do you expect the neighbors to do? What can they possibly do? Tear down their house for your garden? Just take it as an opportunity to find plants that grow well in the shade and make it a community thing again. But it is a neighborhood treasure. You are the asshole. First, I'm really sorry this happened to you. I would be absolutely heartbroken if my garden were diminished that way. But you're blaming the wrong people. Have you ever bought a home? Did you do any research into what the garden situation was like for your neighbors? Of course not. It's not something anyone ever considers. The fault here lies with the municipalities that allow the construction of these type of monstrosities, not with the homebuyers. You are the asshole. How were they supposed to research your garden before moving there? Is it famous? Was it featured in Better Homes and Gardens? Does it have its own social media platform? Yes, I wondered this too. Do your own research before you move in, not only on the house you're going to buy but on the neighborhood houses too. Excuse me? I don't want every prospective buyer for the neighborhood looking up every minor detail on my house in the name of research, thank you. Right? I look up neighborhood, schools, crime rates, local businesses, and amenities. Indoor and outdoor layout. That's about all I can reasonably think of as someone tentatively looking at buying. Maybe I'll get more through, but it never occurred to me to look over the neighbor's fence before buying. Not the asshole developers build what people will buy. They bought a massive house, newly built, that doesn't fit the character or style of the neighborhood. All things that were pretty obvious when they bought. Why are people pretending the consumers aren't part of the problem? Phew, that was a lot of scrolling to find a not the asshole. Yup. This young couple meant well, but they are definitely complicit in the gentrification of a wholesome neighborhood becoming a McMansion hellscape. Original poster was polite and honest about how worse things are now. Lots of gentrification apologists swarming the thread. Why aren't they blaming their old neighbors who are essentially scabs who took the payday? For gentrification to happen, some prior owner makes a boatload. This doesn't sound like a rental neighborhood, so original poster should be pissed at her previous neighbor. People always overlook that part of the equation. They have smoke for the developers, smoke for the new owners, but no smoke for their former neighbors who sold out to developers for a big payday instead of selling to another family even though they knew it would affect the community. You are the asshole, you and the rest of your neighbors. If you want to be mad at the people who sold their house and the developers. TBH, I found those house ugly and absurd, but I don't get to vent my spleen at people who buy them. I was going to say blame the developer until he said, it's not our fault you built the garden there. Extra negative points for calling it cute. Not the asshole, you didn't build the garden there. Your grandparents did. That guy's house wrecked it and he was just incredibly condescending about it. Asterisk, you're justified in your anger. That guy is just the worst of California. Hopefully you can replant some of it with stuff that likes shade. We seem to be in the minority, but I agree. My former home was at the edge of a wooded area and I had to watch those beautiful trees get bulldozed and the land leveled to build wildly overpriced ticky-tacky cookie-cutter suburban townhomes. The wildlife that had lived in those woods had nowhere to go and there were dead animals in the road a lot after that. Original poster's post is also a classic example of one of the many negative effects of gentrification. I don't know how people aren't seeing that. Not the asshole, original poster. I would have called your anger at them maybe a little misplaced, since they weren't the ones who originally bought the property and rebuilt. I think that, well, it's not our fault you built the garden there, is it? Would have set most people off in your situation, though. Everyone sucks here. I have no sympathy for gentrifying infill home buyers. Buying a multi-million-dollar monstrosity in a mature neighborhood comes with natural consequences. However, they were clearly oblivious to the pain their house had caused, and you could have communicated this in a far more compassionate manner that may even have elicited compassion in return. I'm surprised I had to scroll so far down to find this. Original poster is definitely wrong for how they handled the situation, but this is straight-up gentrification. Perhaps the new homeowners aren't aware of the effects of it, but it's a very widespread problem that ends up displacing people like original poster when they are effectively priced out of their homes, and has been discussed for many years. I get why original poster is mad. Yeah, the developers built it, but someone bought it, this enabling the cycle. Not the asshole. They asked, you answered. They pressed, you clarified further. They didn't like it, you weren't rude. All these YTAs are obviously from people who fall into one or more of three categories. 1. They live somewhere this doesn't happen. 2. They participated in gentrification. 3. They profit from this type of gentrification. You are the asshole. Those people did not tear down the old house or build the new one. You're punishing for something they did not do. Good neighbors who really care and are friendly are in really short supply. Maybe you should try to get to know them and find that having friends can be a treasure too. Yes, and if it hadn't been this couple, it would be someone else. What is every single buyer supposed to do in elaborate Google sleuthing and then not purchase a house on principle because someone's garden might be affected? Original poster should be mad at the developers, not the poor neighbors. There's no way the poor neighbors could win here. You are the asshole.